Q is more than a letter, it's action. It stands for the bold and the unheard, diverse, vibrant, and defiant. Let's talk, let's walk. This is your Q. All right. Well, welcome everyone, and welcome to all of our listeners who are joining for the second time to our second episode titled Then and Now. And so joining us, we have some folks that are on the board of Mississippi Capital City Pride and some friends of Mississippi Capital City Pride. And so we're looking forward to the conversation. And I thought it would probably be best that we start out introducing ourselves. Who would like to start?
I'll start. I'm Stan Nichols, and I'm on the board of directors at Mississippi Capital City Pride, and I'm also the director of the Jack Myers House, which is an LGBTQ-centered domestic violence shelter here in Jackson.
Hello, I'm Sherry Cothren, queer activist. I was with Capital City Pride on the board from early 2021 through early 2023. Before that, I was with Unity Mississippi from 2004 to 2016 when we ended that.
Hi, I'm Laura Heller. I'm also on the board. I'm chair-elect. I am an archivist, historian, general lover of history.
Awesome. And then we have...
I'm Jack Myers. I've had gay bars here for over 50 years. I don't think I'm on the board, am I?
You're on the advisory.
I'm a senior advisor.
Yes.
Yeah.
We love our seasoned individuals. It makes food very flavorful. Yes. Well, thank you all for joining us. I also wanted to, have a quick shout out to all of you because I think at some point we've either served on the Mississippi Capital City Pride Planning Committee. I know I'm serving with two of you on the board, Stan and Laura, and Sherry. I know I've met you on a number of occasions. Yes. You and Jack are both salt of the earth type of people, and I've enjoyed meeting y'all and getting to know y'all and working with those of you that are on the board with me. And so going into our next question, I was curious to learn a little bit about your growing up. What was that like for y'all, and were you in Mississippi when you were growing up?
People are looking at me, so I guess I'll go. Probably out of this group, I'm the most recent to come out, and I did so when I was in Kentucky. I had moved there for work, and it was in 2004. And when I came out to my mom, she said, "Does she make you happy?" And I said, "Yeah." And she says, "That's all I could ever ask for you." So that was pretty cool. I do have to say that if my dad had still been living, I probably wouldn't have come out. I probably would have lived a double life in that sense.
Okay. I am from a small town in Mississippi, so things were a little awkward, and I've always been gay. I knew I was gay when I was 12. To officially have come out to my mother, that didn't go well. She's like, "No, that's not who you are." And I said, "Yeah, it really is." It strained our relationship, and being from a small town, it was just sort of, I shifted my focus on my music and writing. And I left when I graduated high school to move to the big city, which made a big difference to being in Jackson at that time. So that's my growing up story.
Well, I was raised in the Mississippi Delta. In a lot of ways, a very, very conservative environment, but in a lot of ways, it's a very creative environment. The Delta is kind of its own world. Unfortunately, both my parents died when I was very young, in my 20s. So I never really came out to them, but I came out when I was 19. It was difficult, Mississippi at that time, 1981 was the year that I came out. So it was, you had to you didn't have a choice but to lead a double life. You couldn't be open about who you were in any way. And thankfully we had Jack's bar was the only place that we could go to where we could be ourselves. And I'm not going to say my coming out was really, really difficult. I didn't think of it as difficult. It was just the way life was. I had to pretend to be one person at work, one person around my family, and then who I really was around my friends, and of course at the bar. So,
Jack, would you like to?
Yeah, my hometown is Pelahatchie. It's where I went to school, finished in 63. And from there to Hines, got accepted to UMC radiology school, and finished there and worked in the animal lab for a long time. And then went to Hines General and worked. And from there to the VA. VA gave me a scholarship. I went to North Carolina for a year, doing film quality control and all that kind of stuff, ultrasounds. And they only gave me a very short stipend. It didn't even pay my rent while I was up there. And they supposed to have me a quality control tech job when I got back, and they didn't even have it. I told them, you got 2 weeks to get it together. I'm out of here. So that's when I opened the bar.
And which bar was this specifically?
Mays Cabaret on 49. And my mom and dad came over for the weekend. I hadn't told them anything about it. And I followed them to the front porch. They were getting ready to go home. And I said, there's something I've got to tell y'all. They was like, what is it? I said, well, I'm opening a gay bar. And Daddy said, well, I'm not going. Mama said, well, you can keep your butt at home. I'm going. So they both started going and running the door for me. So it all fit right in.
and can I say something about his parents? Because Jack's parents were parents to all of us young kids. We couldn't tell our parents who we were, but his parents were like our second parents. Yes. And I'll never forget the first time I went to the bar. It was one of those situations where I think for like 3 weekends in a row, I circled the bar, scared to death to go in. Finally, I got brave enough to go in. And here sits this sweet looking little old lady and man sitting at the door. And I said, am I at the right place? You know? And I handed my money to her and she said, baby, is this your first time in a place like this? I said, yes, ma'am. She patted me on the hand. She said, well, you go in there and you have yourself a real good time. If anybody bothers you, you just come see Mama Jack. And she was my Mama Jack to the day she died. Loved that lady and Papa Jack. And they were that to all of us.
To all of us, yes.
All of us. You got that unconditional love from them that you didn't necessarily get from your family.
Very true.
Yeah. Thinking about my experience, I'm very similar to you, Stan, in that I was around the age of 19 when I came out. I'm also from the Delta, grew up in the Delta. But it was at that time I was at Millsaps. It's where I went to college. And, when my family found out, my mom cried, but it was more out of, concern for my safety, like if something were to ever happen to me or someone were to ever approach me or, beat me up or what have you. But I have to say that one of the things I remember vividly was almost feeling ashamed that I underestimated how loving and accepting my family would be. That I thought for so long that they wouldn't be. And I have to say, for my experience, I was just pleasantly surprised by that. Yeah. With y'all's experiences, growing up in queer culture, what were some of the good and the bad experiences like for y'all growing up? And I'm asking this because I know some of our listeners might come from younger generations and, I don't know, might not necessarily know what some of those past experiences might have been like.
Well, in talking about your family, I was so fortunate that I have an older brother and sister, and my brother, when it was many years before he found out, but when he did, he cut me off, and I loved his children. He kept me from his children. I didn't see his children for over 10 years. In fact, it was after they got grown before, and they reached out to me. But I have a sister who accepted me from day one. And she allowed me to be part of her life, and she allowed me to help her raise her children. And her children are all three so freaking cool. And they're raising their children to be allies. And I'm grateful for that. And that was the easy part. The hard part was the fear. Back when you could literally lose everything you had if somebody found out who you were. I was teaching school. If they found out who I was, not only would I lose my job, it didn't have been on the freaking news. It would have been in the newspaper. And so you constantly had to look behind you. And I remember the police. I don't know, Jack, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a period of time when there was a rumor going around, and everybody had to back in. They backed in and put their cars. You remember that, Sherry?
I
You had to put your car up against the wall so that the police couldn't come through and read your tag, because and I don't know if it was true or not, but they were saying that they were taking your tag number down, finding out who you were, finding out who your people were, and calling them, finding out where you worked. They were using your tag numbers. And so we lived in that fear. I'm so grateful we don't have to do that anymore.
It's still good to be careful, though.
Oh, well, you got to be careful because we live in a world where you need to be careful. But
Or is that just
yeah.
I remember going to Jack's downtown, and my girlfriend and I would park, and walking up to the back door at Jack's, we would pass by cars full of these guys that were like shouting things at us like, queer, go away. So that happened a lot on our walk from the car to the back door of Jack's. But we just got used to it and always kept a look around on our backs, making sure we were okay. We would go in groups a lot of the time, like 4 or 5 at one time, just as we walked past these cars of the guys yelling all of this stuff at us. But, I don't remember being extra scared. I was always in a group, it seemed like.
Yeah.
And like I say, I came out when I was around 14, so I've had the kind of jobs or whatever after that were in the arts, so that was much easier. The art scene, more accepting. So the family was strained, most definitely, but again, who I am comes first. So, bye-bye.
Yeah.
My experience after I came out, I was still living in Kentucky at the time. I'd just broken up with my first girlfriend. So then I was trying to date again, that sort of thing, but it just wasn't happening. I was always the oddball person. Even in high school, junior high, I did get picked on, but I wasn't out. I was just, everybody knew if something was different about me. I didn't know what it was yet. But when I came back to Mississippi, I didn't socialize. I was taking care of my mom. I was doing things like that. And then 2016 comes around and I hear about JC's and it's already closed. So I missed going to JC's, but I ended up meeting tons of people who had stories to share about their experiences at JC's and at Wanderlust and Jack's Saloon and Jill's Bar, and Jaded, and a whole bunch of other places. And as a historian and archivist, I just really love hearing those stories, and wish that I lived in that time period a little bit in that sense.
I remember. I guess I had been out for 3-4 years, maybe, and the first time I was called the F word. I'd heard the word before, but I remember it like hitting me kind of like a knife because it, I had never heard that word used toward me before. And I remember like like the color left my face and I just didn't have really anything to say. And I remember it was one of my friend's husbands, and he looked at me and he said, "It's all right, Edgar. Don't listen to him." And so it was in that moment that I had a very clear idea of, what an ally looks like, what allyship feels like, and of course, what it feels like to be persecuted against. So, would anybody like to share anything else?
Best bars I had was my dad and I bought the old Lamette Theater downtown. It was May's Cabaret.
Mm-hmm.
And first night that we were open, Dorothy Moore opened for us.
Mm-hmm.
When she was popular with Misty Blue. We had over 400 people in that place. She was always nice to me.
So I'm curious, how many bars have you owned?
I don't have enough fingers, I don't think.
Got toes too.
I don't. The first one I had was May's Cabaret on 49. Then we moved downtown. It used to be the Wagon Wheel upstairs. I don't know if anybody remembers it. Years ago, we rented it, and Mom and Daddy always ran the door for me. And then I got the Lamette Theater, and then I went to visit my cousin who lived in San Francisco, and I was either going to move back there or whatever. So anyway, when I came through town, the old place where they used to shoot pool, I forget the name of it then, but it was JC's. No, wait a minute. What was the old Jack's?
Jack and Jill's downtown? Is that what you're talking about?
It was when we was on the other side of Capitol Street from the Mayflower.
Oh,
The other side?
Dick and James.
No, that's Jack
No.
and Jill's. Right?
That was Jack and
Jack
Jill's was
and
on
Jill.
Capitol Street down from the Mayflower.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a bar
Jack
called
Saloon.
the Others. Do
Yeah.
what?
Jack's Saloon was
Jack's
the name.
Saloon.
Yeah.
Right.
And it used to be two separate bars. Remember, it was Jack and Jill's, because I remember the first time I went in, it was only Jack's, and I wandered up into Jill's, and back then the girls didn't like the boys too much. And I didn't know, because I'm stupid little 19-year-old, and I diddly bop in there. And what's going on over here? Because those of you who know me, I'm just I will enter anywhere, if I'm curious about it. I'll just insert myself. And they looked at me and they wanted you to be escorted by a female as a guest to go in. I didn't know that. But I saw somebody I knew. And
That's when we opened the dance floor next door.
Yes. And then you combined them.
Yeah.
And the dance floor side was called Jill's, and that's where they did the drag shows. And then Jack's was the main bar with the meat rack. People would hold court on the meat rack. Do y'all know what a meat rack is? It's just where you sit and pose. It's called the meat rack.
Yeah, and I was sitting here thinking about another bar. So when I was in college, that was 2006 to 2010. There was a bar called Dick and Jane's. And I think
that
it was in that
Jack's
same
old location.
Okay, gotcha.
When he moved to where Shade is now, Dick and was it ever really a gay bar, or was it just a ally bar?
It was just
I never did understand what it was.
that owned the music company. And it became vacant.
Mm-hmm.
So then I rented it from him, and we opened up Jack and Jill.
But I never went to Dick and Jane's. I moved away in the mid 90s. I lived in North Carolina until 2010. So I was gone during that period.
Mm-hmm.
But now I managed Jaded in South Jackson off Terry Road. I was the last manager there, and I'm the one that moved it to where the current Shade location is. I turned the Shade location was a little strip mall, and I'm the one that gutted it and turned it into a bar, and it was called Polyesters. And then after I left and went to North Carolina, that's when Jack moved into that building. So for about a year and a half, I was a gay bar owner, or not owner. I didn't own it. I owned part of it. I was told I owned part of it, although I never saw any paperwork.
Yeah.
I remember the first drag show we had at that bar, the first one I opened. Vice and Narcotics came in, said, if you have this show, we're going to close you down. I said, okay, I'll see you in the chief's office next week. And the chief at that time was a good friend of my aunt's. And I went in and talked to him. And he said, I don't see anything wrong with that. He said, if the Baptist church can have women's weddings, you can have your drag shows. And that was misprinted in the paper. That's what I wanted to show you.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I went in and dropped my aunt's name and said, if the Baptist church can have women's weddings, you can have your drag show. So he said, I want a couple of those guys to come back and see the show. So they did. They said, we didn't see anything wrong. Chief and uncrawl their butts, what it was.
One time at Jaded, I'm working the door, and this whole probably 20 policemen came in the back door unannounced. I'm like, can I help you? No, you may not, and came straight through the bar. And one of them stopped and said, these are rookies. We're training them. We're just going to walk through. And I said, well, you can't stop them. And they set off pepper spray in my bar and cleared my bar. And I had patrons in the parking lot gagging and coughing and crying. And it was awful. But the chief did apologize to me and made sure that it never happened again. That's the only time I ever had trouble with the police. But they did that on purpose. And it was kind of scary.
Since we're bringing up stories from the past, historical events, occurrences that we've experienced, I thought it might be cool if y'all had any photos or images that you would like to share about, past experiences and occurrences, like especially within Jackson in the state of Mississippi.
Get that book right there. Yeah, that's
This
one.
one?
So Jack has some items he would like
Here's
to
the
share.
other book.
I don't know if y'all know Danielle Manning.
I do.
Anyway, she made that book for me.
Oh,
from
this
JC.
one?
Uh-huh.
Is that the book you want, or you want this book of pride?
Uh,
You
that
want
one.
Oh, okay.
That one there. That's the
Yeah.
one Danielle made for
That's
This one?
me. Mm-hmm.
Let me see these photos.
Jo-
Jack brought these.
I
That's
guess.
Joanne.
Daniel,
Now, there's
I'm
some old
I'm
stuff
talking
in that
to
one.
The ethereal Daniel. Do I show it like this to the? Okay.
Gotcha.
All right. So you have it signed from Danielle here, and these are just images. Do you want to talk about some of these photos that are in the book here?
I'm not going to call any names. That's see, Ralph worked for me. Danielle worked for me.
These are our
Ron Ship,
family members or friends of yours.
friends.
Okay. So where are y'all at in this?
That's
in
at
these photos?
JC.
Okay, JC. So tell some of our listeners about JCs that might not have ever heard of JC.
I had JC's 16 years, I think it was. That's Danielle.
I've been a couple of times to, but
Jack, you had JC's almost 30 years, honey.
Huh?
You opened JC's in 1990.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And you closed it in 2016.
Okay, I'm thinking about 16, I guess.
Okay, and then there are also some black and white photos I see.
Here's
Oh, that's some straight friends.
there's Papa Jack and Mama Jack.
They
Those
you
are
see how
cute.
they just
Every
fit
year
They
at
fit right in.
JC's, Jack had an Easter bonnet contest, and everybody participated, including Mama and Papa Jack. It was so much fun. We had a purse throw in the parking lot, and you had to run in high heels and throw a purse.
The purse throw and the high heel raise.
Yeah.
That was in the back of Jack's Saloon downtown.
And we did it in the parking lot at JC's too, didn't we?
I don't know if we ever did it up there.
Seems like I remember.
Just love
Fun.
seeing all these photographs. That is
Look,
getting to see history.
I'm looking. There's a sweet picture of Mama and
Yeah.
Papa Jack.
Oh,
I don't know how to angle it where you can see it. They were precious.
It's really important too when newspapers report on queer history as well, because then you have this proof that we existed. So, for instance, this article right here
Yeah, that was
is in
big.
2016 and it highlights it profiles the bar and shares a little bit of background, a little history about JC's. And in the picture here, it's got Jack with the bar and it's empty, and it's talking about
down.
what your next plan is. So,
The story that the girl wrote about JC's with the newspaper got it all mixed up.
mhm.
But I corrected it in there.
Mhm.
Any other photos or images y'all would like to share?
Well, I think when you're talking about JC's, this was Joanne
Joanne.
McGillicuddy, the manager of JC's, and a dear friend to everybody. This is another picture of Joanne. You always saw Joanne sitting at the end of that bar holding court.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody cut up, Joanne had a big baseball bat, and she'd pull it out from there and slam it on that bar. And everybody go, whoop, whoop, Joanne's bad. Everybody be good.
Miss Kay used to run the bar too.
And Miss Kay,
I saw her grab a guy by the ear at the front door one night.
they did not put up. You could come in, be yourself, and do whatever. And that's the wonderful thing about it. You felt safe.
Yeah.
Anybody that came in and tried to cause problems, it was taken care of very, very quickly. And most of the time, you didn't even know it until it's
Right.
all over with.
I remember
So-
seeing a few fights in there, and they just put them right outside. It didn't put up with that.
Can I see that book?
Well, I don't have any print photos anymore, but I only brought a couple of things. Like, this is me with a musician at my first Pride Festival that I ever went to. When I was in Kentucky, I went up to Ohio and met Chris Perica and had my picture taken there. And I'm just a little baby dyke here. Yeah, and that's in 2007. But coming back to Mississippi, I attended the march and protest outside of the state capitol for HB 1523. Here's a picture with a whole bunch of speakers: Rob Hill, Tina Clark, a few of our own legislators were there as well. So it was a pretty big deal. This is one of the handmade posters somebody made and showed and used it at the march there, as well as this one. It's a great pun.
Bye,
Bye,
Felicia.
Felicia.
And I don't personally have those. Those are at an archives and that's accessible to anybody. Also, there was a magazine that the Mississippi Gay Alliance published, a little newsletter thing that was called This Month in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few of those.
Yeah.
I do have a few
Yeah,
of
I
those.
remember those. I was always
Save
terrified
some.
my name was going to end up in it.
I know, right?
Okay. When was that first published?
I don't know the date it was first published, but I know that Mississippi Gay Alliance formed in 1974 with Eddie Sandifer and then a young lady that was over at Starkville at the time in Mississippi State University. They felt there was a need. The students felt there was a need there, and they reached out to Eddie, who was also doing some of the same thing here in Jackson. And they formed the Mississippi Gay Alliance, and later on it became the Mississippi Gay and Lesbian Alliance. But this sort of magazine helped connect people to what was going on in the communities throughout the whole state. They featured gay bars in Pascagoula, as
Pascagoula
well.
Street.
Yes, that's in
Yeah, the other
Jackson.
side,
That did say. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
I love that bar. That was a great
loved
bar.
it.
And then
It was fun.
here's
I saw my first drag show there.
an ad in there for Jack and Jill's for a Christmas party, 1983. So
Lewis always wrote an article in This Month in Mississippi.
Louis Avalon.
yeah,
They'd bring them to the bar for us to give out, and
Yeah.
you could see them laying around the tables, and all of it was turned to Lewis's article.
Yeah.
It was a gossip. It was a gossip.
Oh yeah,
That's what I was. I was afraid my name would end up in there, and it did more than once.
Gays gossiping? Who would have
Funny.
ever thought
Imagine.
that,
It could
that
be a
would
little
be a
vicious.
thing?
A little
in
bit.
the paper. We go to clean up, and every table had a magazine open about Lewis's article.
Well, I'm gonna have to go back through those. The few that we have that are at the archives. I'll have to go look through for his name because I never got to meet him myself, but I know people. My spouse knew him from JC's. You'll know him from JC's.
Tallulah Ruth.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank y'all for sharing the photos and the articles that give us a kind of a taste of the queer history, the queer culture in the state and in the city. So, based on what you've shared and some of your experiences, would you say that keeping a historical record of the queer past is an important endeavor for us?
It's not only important;
Most certainly.
it's necessary.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think it's really important for people to know about the people who laid the groundwork for them to be who they are.
Mm-hmm.
People who are coming out of the closet today are, the young gay people, they have a very different coming out experience than we did.
Oh yeah, big time.
And while they're still family, I mean, I understand it's difficult. I'm not trying to take that away from them, but they're coming out in a world that's a lot easier. And it's because of people from Jack's generation, my generation, that they're able to do that. And people like Eddie Sandifer, who were not afraid to stand up and say, this is what I am. This is who I am. These are the people who need my help. And you don't have the right to hate them. You don't have the right. They have the same rights you do. And if you don't know about that, you need to know where you came from to know where you're going, don't you?
Right. To see what happened and what you can do going forward, what needs improvement, what was, just keep building up on the foundation that was laid.
Yeah,
I think Eddie Sandifer. I think Kay Boyles told me this, that Eddie Sandifer got in drag and walked down Capitol Street one time.
I would not be a bit surprised.
I think I heard that too. I didn't see it, but I heard that.
as an archivist, as a historian, the preservation of those stories, the sharing of those stories, the capturing of those letters, those photographs, those scrapbooks, the documentaries, all of those show that we existed and have always existed, will and continue to exist. Those stories are worth preserving, worth sharing. Every Mississippian story is worth collecting and preserving, because we're here, we're queer, and we have stories to share and histories to share because we love and we exist and our families are here. We contribute to the history of this state, this country, this world. So we're an integral part of it.
Especially in terms, I was just sitting here thinking, we were around before there was AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we first started kind of hearing about AIDS, or it was called GRIDS then, gay-related immunodisease, whatever. It wasn't even called AIDS. And we weren't worried about it. Mm-hmm. That's never coming here. We're in little Podunk, Mississippi. That's something that happens in big cities like New York and San Francisco and Los Angeles. It's never coming here. Guess what? It did.
It was finally called queer cancer by a lot of the
queer cancer
people around town.
And people were dropping dead. People that we loved, friends in, and this goes back to know your history. So many millions of young, precious, sweet, talented young men and women died because, number one, nobody cared.
True.
Nobody in the
Thank
healthcare.
God for Dr. Bill Causey.
Dr. Bill Causey. Yep.
He, if he was off on the weekends and was seeing patients at Baptist, those doctors would come to the door as far as they'd come. Dr. Causey would come in, sit on the bed, and talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
But, then we bought the Sandifer house on Jefferson Street. And I think every Friday, every Saturday, we would take money off the door to pay the note on the house. And there was some woman in that neighborhood thought that she could catch it through the air and she wanted that house closed. I thought, how stupid can you be, woman?
Mm-hmm.
That's what people thought.
People stuck with that story.
Thought you could get it from sitting on the toilet behind somebody.
Just talking
to get
someone.
it from drinking after somebody or touching somebody.
Well, I know when Monique got sick, you remember him.
Mm-hmm.
He got this job in Atlanta, and he found out he was positive. And he said, if I get to where I have to have some place to stay, he said, I can't go home. I said, well, you just come stay at my house. We'll take care of you. Sure enough, one morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, his daddy's beating on the door. He dropped him off at my house. And he just went downhill from there. And I called the doctor at university, and they said, oh, bring him on up here. We'll get a room for him. Got up there and said, oh, we don't have a room for him. I said, well, y'all just lied to me. I said, give me just a minute. So I went and I called Dr. Causey, and he said, you take him to Baptist now. I'll have him a room ready when he gets there. That's how good he was to everybody.
And Jack, there's I don't even know if you know how many people you took in during that time that had been thrown away by their families.
Yeah. Bill Rhymes stayed with me a long time.
You gave so many people dignity when their families literally left them, dropped them off, and drove off at the hospital.
Oh, yeah. They didn't have any place to go when the hospital. Me and Eddie would rent them a room at that old hotel downtown just so they'd have a place to stay. It was a mess.
And young people today need to know that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful now that there are all the fact that you can take PrEP now, and that's how we're gonna. You're not gonna cure AIDS. You're just gonna stop it by everybody being responsible. If they will be, take PrEP. Those who have it, take Biktarvy, and so that you can't spread it. The only way it's going to stop is to stop the spread. And we didn't have any of that. That did not. When you were diagnosed HIV positive, you were going to die. Yeah. Period.
And there's still, some stigma even among the LGBTQ community. There's still a level of ignorance about what you equals you means, the undetectable equals untransmissible. That now, like these drugs, like you mentioned, Biktarvy, Genvoya, and other medications that bring people's viral load so low that it's not even detectable by PCR amplification tests. And so, we really have come a long way to, almost being where, it's not even a worry almost anymore.
And that's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because I think that I have heard young people say today, I've heard it come out of their mouths, "Oh, I'm not worried about that. I can just take a pill."
Mm-hmm.
They don't. This is literally a pill you'll have to take the rest of your life, or you will die.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very expensive pill that you're going to have to take the rest, and you better hope you have some good insurance or some kind of resource that you can hook up with, and it's not easy. But you're going to have to take that pill the rest. Do you want to do that? I don't think, because they didn't live the horror that we lived through with that. They don't take it as seriously as they should.
Just one time, day pill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and now, so for instance, I took Truvada. There's one called Truvada. And then there's one called Descovy, and depending on, the side effects, people will take one versus the other. For the past couple of months, I've switched to the Apretude injection, which is once every 2 months. You start out with once a month, and then after that 2-month period, you then go to every 2 months. So the injection is intragluteal. So it's an intramuscular injection in your butt cheeks. Yeah, it kind of hurts. It feels like you're being punched in the ass. So you're sore for a couple of days, but you don't have to take the peel every day when you take that. So
Ultimately, there needs to be a cure so that
yes,
no pharmaceutical company is getting all of our money. It's just a cure, just like cancer needs a cure, and
yes,
too much money to be made on
right.
Shingles
Yeah.
needs a
There's
cure.
no money in a cure.
Exactly.
Right.
Of course.
And we also have really awesome medications now. So DoxyPep, PrEP stands for pre-exposure prophylaxis. So preventing it before you're even exposed to it. And then they have what has been called DoxyPep or doxycycline post-exposure prophylaxis. So doxycycline is a very strong antibiotic that's very effective against syphilis and chlamydia. So preventing it from taking root if you've been exposed. So within 72 hours, if you take 2 tablets, 100 milligrams of DoxyPep, there's something like a 70% chance that you'll have protection from syphilis and chlamydia. So a little 30% less chance with gonorrhea. But either way, we've come a long way with the medications. And I know that there's ongoing research too for herpes simplex virus 1 and 2, working towards creating vaccines for that. We have the Gardasil vaccine, which is great. The Gardasil 9, which targets the 9 different strains of the human papillomavirus, HPV, that will either cause genital warts or cervical cancer, or for men, oftentimes not as common in women, but pharyngeal cancers, throat cancers. So, wow, we spent quite a bit of time going down the road with STIs, but I guess it's just the nature of the world we live in.
And the question was why do you think we need to keep a record? This is why.
Yeah,
You didn't know where we came from.
Right.
Yeah.
We were raised in a time when you just literally played Russian roulette and you didn't know you were. Every time you met somebody who was like, hey, want to go to my place, could be fatal.
Yeah. And you were talking about the AIDS epidemic too. And I can't remember if I was reading this in an article, and the author was talking about how it didn't set in for people to start sort of being more compassionate and caring until like some of the people's favorite famous people contracted it.
Oh, yeah.
Like Liberace, I think, was
Hudson.
one of them.
Rock
Right.
Hudson was a big turn for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And so, well, as awful as the whole, epidemic was, I guess it kind of showed the side of human nature where, it's, sometimes those that are in the limelight and the popularity that will oftentimes, swoon over people's attention. But, well, any particular instances in history, whether in Mississippi or nationwide, positive occurrences historically that are most memorable for you? Or even not just that, maybe most meaningful experiences for you?
I think when gay marriage was legalized nationwide,
That was huge.
it was an amazing, amazing thing.
Yeah.
And just seeing more people accepting the lifestyle, watching, because one day it's like, no one was there to support. The next day it's like people are coming around like, okay, I'll put up a flag in my business. Seeing all that develop was pretty huge. Having support from outside of just the community.
What was that sticker that Jackson businesses were putting up?
Yeah, the one that
Safe spaces.
No.
You're
If you're buying,
if you're buying, we're selling.
yeah,
right.
I have a few of those left.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was so businesses would be able to signal to queer people that yes, we're not going to discriminate against you. If you're buying, we're selling.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't that stem around a cake thing? A bakery not making them.
Was it before that? Maybe the cake.
I
The
can't
woman
remember
that wouldn't bake the
what-
wedding cake.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
May
yeah.
have been around that.
I think it was a baker that wasn't going to bake a cake for
For a gay wedding.
a gay couple, I believe.
In Florida, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been around the same time. I don't really remember.
Yeah, and there was a clerk in one state that refused to give someone their marriage
Right.
license,
That lady in
and,
Atlanta.
it was overturned in court because obviously it.
Oh, she's still around.
She
What's her
was
name?
suing the
Kim Davis
Kim
in
Oh,
Davis,
Kentucky.
yeah.
Kim Davis. Oh, Kim Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me too, I talk about this concept of cultural humility a lot, where it's the idea that we're always ever growing deeper in our understanding of people who are different from us, and so even within the LGBTQ community, that is a challenge. For someone like me, I identify as a cisgender man. So, and for those who are not familiar with the terminology, cisgender applies to someone who ascribes to the gender identity that they were assigned at birth.
Want me to tell you something funny?
Mm-hmm.
When I first heard that term, this is how stupid I was. Not stupid, but naive. And I'm 65 years old, okay? So, my involvement with Capital City Pride, I mean, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. And people were saying, that person's, I thought it meant they were calling themselves a sissy. I did. I thought it meant a gay person, a really effeminate gay person. And it means the exact total opposite of that.
Yeah. But so that, that goes to show why it's important, to have discussions that explain the terminology. But I had not really had a whole lot of experience with transgender people, and so since then I've taught people who identify that I've made more friends. I've also made more friends with bisexual individuals, and in fact, just this past weekend, I think I offended one of my cisgender male friends who identifies as bisexual because I wasn't fully understanding that experience, because I'm coming at it from the lens of a cisgendered gay man. And so I view the world through that particular lens. And I think we oftentimes have that challenge, right, of trying to navigate a world and communicate with people through our own lens, without not always fully appreciating theirs. And I think that's the cultural humility challenge.
Terminology changes over time. My dad's adoptive parent, their name was, well, I'm not going to say their birth name, because technically they would have been a transgender person today. At the time, they were called a cross-dresser, a number of other terms. But Lee Francis Heller was my grandparent, and I never got to know Lee Francis Heller as the person they truly were. She even was confirmed in the Episcopal Church, St. Andrew's Cathedral, a few weeks before she passed in 2000. But I remember her as my grandparent, taking me to movies over at North Park Mall with the little Volkswagen Beetle and this sort of thing. But I didn't get to know about her true gender and her true expression until after she had passed, and my dad and I were cleaning out her trailer, and I came across photographs of her, and I recognized my grandparent, but I also didn't know what this was. What I saw was like a very church-going looking grandma, and just a perfect little hairstyle and everything. And I just was like, I'm really sad I didn't get to know this person in this way. But I do have some really good memories. And I'm learning more as time goes on. She did write a newsletter and worked with other people that was called the Grace and Lace Love Letter, and mailed it out of her own pocket to people all over the country. And the main focus was that was for anybody who was still dealing with religious conflict, that she was able to support you are loved by God, and use biblical phrases to support that. And other people would write articles in this too. So, why was I going on that tangent? You said something that made me really trigger wanting to terminologies. Yes. Uh-huh. So, I mean, yeah, at the time, folks didn't have the word transgender, or they weren't recognizing it yet. But my grandparent referred to herself as a cross-dresser. But I think today she would have identified as transgender.
And, when I was growing up in the Delta, in our little town, Belzona, 4,500 people at its biggest, okay? We had 2 trans males that lived with spouses in our town. One was our local paper carrier, who could sling a paper all, as long as a football field. She was tough. And then the other one was a little slight person, and everybody knew that this person went by a male name, lived with a woman. Oh, well, she just likes to wear men's clothes, but just whatever. But they attended. I went to First Baptist Church. They attended our church on a regular basis and sat together. Nobody said a word. I mean, I don't remember as a child. I mean, I saw them every Sunday in our church. Yeah. But I don't remember anything bad ever being said. Everybody loved them. Mm-hmm. And we had a gay couple in our town. And I remember as a kid, they had a standard poodle that rode around in their pickup truck with them, and from the back it looked like a woman sitting between them. Like the poodle was huge. And they pulled in front of us. I was riding with my daddy. I was probably like 11 years old, and I won't say the people's names, but Daddy said, "Look at that poodle sitting between them. It looks just like a lady sitting there, doesn't it?" And I said, "It does." I said, "Daddy, what about those? What about them?" And my daddy, this is in the mid-70s, okay? My daddy looked at me and said, "Son, here's all you need to know. They are nice people. They are our friends, and we love them. That's all you need to know."
That's good.
Yeah. And I didn't think about that. I was a kid. I didn't think about that till I was probably in my 30s. I said, and my daddy was long dead. That was pretty freaking cool
Mm-hmm.
for a redneck man to say that grew up in the country, uneducated. And I never did get to come out to him. And I think he would have been cool with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
How did we get on this subject? Did I just totally squirrel?
No, we were talking about terminology, and I'm also thinking about. I recently did a trivia round of all the flags. You thought the pride flags were the only flags? The lesbian flag, the gay male flag. Oh man, there's like over 80.
There's a lot of flags
that represent different
yes.
things. Yeah, so it's kind of fun, kind of learning about them, but so, as we've been talking about the past, I'm just curious, if you could go back in time and change something, what would you change and why?
Change something, you say. I don't know. I would love to have been around during the Stonewall and thrown a few bricks myself, but that wouldn't have changed much, but I would have enjoyed being there for that great event.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I probably would have told Harvey Milk not to make that speech.
Mm.
In Mississippi, it's not something from my past, but Camp Sister Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I've read about it. I've heard about it. I've met one of the ladies that was the founders of it, Wanda Henson and Brenda Henson.
Brenda.
But that would have been a really fun place to go hang out and meet other people.
That was a fun place. I went
Yeah,
twice.
good.
It was great. It was great.
I get to
Down
learn
south
more.
somewhere, wasn't it?
Close to
Down south
Tylertown.
somewhere. Tylertown.
Close to
Ovett.
Tylertown.
It was
in Ovett.
It's
It was Ovett near
close to
Hattiesburg.
Hattiesburg, out in the woods over there. Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was closer to Tylertown.
No.
And it made national news too,
Yes.
because the U.S. Attorney General Janet Reno investigated or intervened with all the violent attacks the lady the camp was experiencing
Yes.
in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I remember I had made this kind of offhanded comment talking with some friends of mine. It's one of my best friends. It's her cousin, and I had kind of offhandedly said, "I wish I had grown up in the '80s." And he just goes, "Oh God, Edgar, no, you wouldn't have. You would have gotten AIDS." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's such a terrible thing to say. What are you trying to call me?" Thinking about, being able to go back to the past, some of the things you're saying too is that if you could have, you would have wanted to make an impact. But I think with the work that you all are doing, you already are making an impact in your now. You've made an impact in your past, and you're making an impact in the present now. And so, I hope that in our now and in our future, we meet more people that are like your dad, Stan, that kind of have that mentality in life.
Yeah.
Any other comments on things you'd want to change in the past? Other thoughts? Well, in that case, what would you say is your forecast for the hope and well-being of queer culture in the future of the state and the nation as a whole?
I've been around for a long time. I've seen a lot of change, and there's certainly a lot of hope for this state. You just keep plugging along, doing all of the work that's needed. I think that Capital City Pride is a great organization that's helping have the safe spaces and events that people know they can come be a part of that. It's a slow climb, but there is definitely hope. You don't lose the hope. You keep fighting. You keep fighting.
Well, I think about 1980s me. The 1980s me would not be able to even conceive of 2026 me. That would not have been in even I would have never thought that could have been possible. Just the life I live now. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like 40 years from now. We just grow and we progress, and I think the future is very, very bright. And every day, I live in a very heterosexual environment, and I choose to. I mean, my friends outside of Capital City Pride and outside of the LGBTQ community are very, very hardcore straight men and women, and we go boating and we do all of this stuff. But they love me, and I'm very open. They know everything there is to know about me. I talk openly about myself to them. And I have a dear friend who has a pretty high-powered job in Jackson, and it's a very sort of He-Man Butch kind of a guy. And I started out being friends with his wife, and now I'm really good friends with him. And he told me one day, and he was dead serious, he said, I never thought that I would have a gay friend. He said, I could never imagine that I would have a gay friend. He said, not only do I have a gay friend, I have a gay friend that I admire.
That's the ultimate goal.
That's the goal. And you know what? I've never said, gay pride, we're here, we're queer. I never did any of that. I just am myself. And because I'm myself, I just talk openly about myself, because I am the age I am. What are you going to do to me? I ain't scared of nobody. It meant a lot to me for him to say that. It did. Mm-hmm. And I think more people are beginning to realize, because of media, because they see us represented in TV shows and movies and stuff, and
music, a lot of music.
Yeah, and music in a positive light, not in a campy light, not in a negative light, but just living our lives. We're represented so much now on TV and in the movies. I think it's great that I think they're more open to it now than they ever have been before, and they will continue to be more open. And then it's just going to get to the point where it's, okay, no big deal, whatever. I don't care who you sleep with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really good with like media and movies and stuff. They've strayed away from focusing on these really campy stereotypes.
Yeah.
And giving us some true representation.
And don't get me wrong, those were funny.
Yeah.
I
they
do
are.
I
like the
love a
campy
good
ones.
campy.
Yeah.
I
do
love
love those.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Dan, what you were saying reminded me of. So I'm not going to say her name, but I call her my spiritual director. She works for an organization, but I've met with her regularly, and I used to have my own identity crisis with my own, faith and my multiple identities. And when I was struggling, with feelings and lifestyle choices and situations. This was several years ago. She looked at me intently and she said, "Edgar, what is the greatest sin? I think you know this." And I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, "Well, what would she say? How would she respond to this?" And my response was living an inauthentic life. Because if you're hiding who you really are, if you don't even really know yourself, how can anyone ever really know you?
Right.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, her conversations have always stuck with me, but, anything else y'all would like to share? Anything else? Well, it's been great having y'all here for this conversation. I know we've sort of talked our talk, and now it's really about walking the walk and doing the work that Mississippi Capital City Pride has set out to do. And so I'm saying that this is our cue to end the conversation here. But for those listening in, this is your cue. This is your cue to continue the discussions and continuing the action that is making change and making the world better for the queer community.
Absolutely.
Thank you again.
And thank you for letting us come, because this has
Thank you.
been so much fun to me.
Yes. Thank
Yes.
you much.
My first podcast. Thank you, Edgar.
Yes.